I'm one with the Force is with me.
I'm one with the Force. The Force is with me. And I'm one with the Force.
Welcome to the Dharma of the Force, a podcast about the spiritual and philosophical side of Star Wars. If that puts you off, it's just words. And if you think that's all a bunch of mumbo jumbo, even better. We cannot widen our horizon and grow by never challenging what we believe, and we should always be suspicious of those who tell us what to believe. In some Buddhist traditions, listening to Dharma talks is a spiritual practice. It's not meant to give answers per se. It's an exercise in looking at questions and elaborating on them and finding the truth within yourself. So in that spirit, let us look at today's topic: redemption and sacrifice. On the internet, you will often read comments along the line of Ben Solo should have survived. First of all, let me as a disclaimer say that I always said Kylo Ren is irredeemable, he committed patricide, and there's no way back for him. And there's only one way to deal with his story arc, and that's exactly how they did it. So that's the angle I'm coming from, and hey, I'm not free of the notion that all puzzle pieces must fit the predetermined answer I'm looking for, but this is the conclusion I have arrived at. I'm not saying I'm right, and if you don't agree, you're wrong. If you feel differently, that's absolutely fine. If you find a solid explanation inside yourself that works for you, that's wonderful. We can learn more from people who don't agree with us than those who just say yes and amen to everything. Maybe we have forgotten that in the age of internet comments. So just hear me out with an open mind. Based upon the information and knowledge available to me, this is my take on it. So why was it, in my opinion, the only way? Okay, so it's true that there are some cases of warlords who brutally killed thousands of people and later found God or religion or some other sort of belief system that made them change their minds, that never had to answer for their deeds. For example, in the Liberian Civil War in the early 90s. Just look up the case of General Butt Naked. Yes, you heard right. Who admitted to sacrificing babies, eating human flesh, and who has been called the most evil man in history, and personally killed at least 20,000 people, and is now a preacher who deeply regrets his actions. But as a general rule, especially in mythology, that's a point of no return. After all, a lot of myths are meant to teach us a lesson, and there are not a lot of fairy tales in which the evil queen gets away with it and everyone just has to deal with it. So basically, it's not real life. But in Star Wars, there's no scenario in which Ben Solo could have happily frolicked around to start a new Jedi Order. Just think this thought to its end. Rey was able to heal his pain that led to the dark side, but ultimately he would have carried this burden with him and it would have worn him down over time. Luke said, "Strike me down in anger and I'll always be with you, just like your father." The pain might be gone, but that doesn't make him another person, and his father also was the one who gave him the solution to this problem. As Ben stated in his own internal monologue, it's too late. And it would have been so easy for him to just walk away and enjoy his new life. Take the easy way out. But he knew what he had to do for his mother and everything she stood for, and for Rey, who literally selflessly gave him a part of her own life force. Not sacrificing his father for the dark side, but making the ultimate sacrifice for redemption. Superficially, it might seem cool to have Ben around and survive. But what is the real motive behind this wish? Is it because he looks cool? Is it because the character is interesting? Have we all watched too many serial killer documentaries? Well, the Night Stalker, aka Richard Ramirez, makes for a good villain. He even got fan mail. People will unfortunately always be attracted to fame, but that doesn't really work in the context of Star Wars. It's like poetry, it rhymes, right? Darth Vader sacrificed himself to save Luke. That is what led to his redemption. There is no redemption without sacrifice. Rey was willing to give her life to save Ben. In a spiritual context, she represents the absolute ceasing of self, pure light beyond selfishness and ego. What did Ben have to offer? He knew he was broken. He knew he made mistakes. She saved him because she believed he hadn't been fully corrupted by the dark side. He had one card to play, to choose what his legacy was gonna be. A coward who closed his eyes, ignoring his responsibility and the ramification of his failures, or literally give back what he didn't really deserve and fulfill his destiny. He got a second chance to do the right thing, and he did. I'm not gonna get into details about what I think about the kiss. But let's just say, calling it romantic undermines the gravitas so tremendously due to the associations attached to the word. Okay, it's Star Wars. It has to work for all age groups and backgrounds, but in my opinion, the kiss symbolized a so much deeper connection than a shallow teenage wanna make out in my TIE fighter kiss. It symbolizes kinship beyond a mere crush, something deeper and more profound, non-sexual even, like a mother kissing her newborn, like people surviving a plane crash kissing each other in relief. I also know there are people out there thinking the best case scenario would have been that they both survived and had forced babies and lived happily ever after. But apart from Ben's story arc, that's not who Rey is in my opinion. Rey is more like Obi-Wan in that regard. I'd like to refer to the Not Allowed to Form Attachments episode. Rey didn't mourn Ben. Rey ultimately seemed to be happy for Ben. Ben found his way back to the light. Ben was finally free of this pain. She was right, and in many ways managed to do what neither Luke, Han, or Leia were able to do. It's a history repeating itself. They had more or less given up on him like everyone had given up on Darth Vader, until a kind-hearted and idealistic farm boy from the middle of nowhere followed his gut feeling and saved him. I know a lot of people will hate this now, but #Rey is the new Luke, and Ben died a hero, not a coward. If you want to support me or this podcast, don't send money. I don't have a Patreon. Find a charity of your choosing and donate. And do yourself a favor and switch off your phone, disconnect, and just sit in silence for a few minutes. Close your eyes and
breathe. Just breathe.